Welcome to today's episode of our podcast, which is dedicated to a very important and often overlooked topic, which is the discussion about toxic parents. In our meeting today, we will delve into what it means when a parent becomes toxic, what are the consequences of such relationships, and most importantly, how to deal with them. We will discuss the warning signs that may indicate toxicity in parental relationships, and ways to find balance and emotional health. Our goal is not only to understand this complex phenomenon, but also to offer support and solutions to those who may be its victims. I invite you to listen and share your experiences, as knowledge and awareness are the first steps towards change. Parents who negatively impact our lives are those who, instead of providing love, immerse us in negativity, overwhelming us with their behavior. Often we are ashamed to admit this, as it is difficult to come to terms with the idea that those who should love us unconditionally are the source of negative emotions and destruction. But how do we recognize that we are dealing with such parents? Their behavior often stems from their own past and the conditions in which they grew up. Such parents usually suffer from a distorted sense of self-worth, often being victims of toxic parents themselves. Breaking this pattern is difficult, especially when we are unaware of our own mistakes. In extreme cases, such parents require therapeutic intervention. However, some situations can be changed through dialogue, explanation, and showing alternative ways of behavior. In the most difficult situations, it may be necessary to distance oneself from them. Children develop survival strategies in a toxic environment, and in adulthood, they often avoid contact with such parents. Intuitively, we feel that something is wrong. A toxic parent will seek closeness, but our task is to protect ourselves and our children to avoid passing on these negative patterns. So how do you recognize a toxic parent? Lack of support and a sense of security. Children need a stable environment to develop healthily. The unpredictability and lack of support from toxic parents leads to the development of insecurity and anxiety in the child. The consequences of this can be long-lasting, including difficulties in establishing trust, fear of rejection, and problems with building safe relationships. Research shows that children who do not receive sufficient emotional support may develop separation, anxiety, and other anxiety disorders. Belittling jokes. Jokes at the expense of the child can lead to serious problems with self-esteem and mental health. Particularly, when a child is regularly ridiculed, it can lead to deep issues with self-worth and mental health. Verbal harassment and humiliation by parents can result in the development of depression, anxiety, and emotional regulation problems later in life. Demanding constant attention. Parents who require constant attention and admiration often exhibit narcissistic behaviors. Children raised in such an environment may struggle with developing their own identity and autonomy. This can also lead to the development of emotional dependencies, where the child feels obligated to continually satisfy the parent's needs. Excessive criticism. Constant criticism from parents can lead to the development of a fear of failure and avoidance of risk in adult life. Children who are continuously criticized may develop perfectionism and have difficulties accepting their own weaknesses and mistakes. This can also affect their ability to cope with criticism and rejection. Inducing guilt. Convincing a child that they are responsible for the parent's inappropriate behaviors is a form of emotional manipulation and abuse. This can lead to the development of guilt and shame, which are difficult to overcome. Children who are regularly blamed for their parents' behavior may have difficulties recognizing their own boundaries and self-worth. Disallowing the expression of negative emotions. Repression of emotions in childhood can lead to serious problems with emotional regulation in adulthood. Children who are not encouraged to express anger or sadness may struggle with recognizing and expressing their own feelings, which can lead to problems in relationships and coping with stress. Instilling fear. Children who constantly feel fear towards their parents can develop chronic stress and anxiety. Prolonged fear can lead to health problems associated with stress, such as hypertension or sleep disorders. Fear of parents can also lead to difficulties in establishing and maintaining healthy relationships in adulthood. Prioritizing their own feelings. Children who grew up in an environment where the feelings of parents were always the priority may have difficulties recognizing and respecting their own needs and emotions. This can lead to the development of emotional dependency and difficulty in creating healthy boundaries in relationships. Undermining goals and achievements. Parents not acknowledging the efforts and achievements of their child can lead to the development of imposter syndrome, where an individual has difficulty internalizing their own successes. This can lead to a chronic sense of inadequacy and fear of being discovered by others. Controlling with money and guilt. Financial and emotional manipulation by parents can lead to a dependency that hinders the development of independence and a healthy sense of self-worth. In the long term, this can lead to difficulties in making independent decisions and maintaining financial independence. Punishing with silence. Silence from a parent can be more harmful to a child than verbal criticism. This can lead to feelings of rejection, loneliness, and fear of abandonment, which can impact all future relationships. Violating physical boundaries. Disrespect for a child's privacy can lead to difficulties in establishing healthy personal boundaries in adulthood. It can also lead to problems with trust and a sense of security in relationships, burdening with responsibility for the parent's happiness. Parents who burden their children with the responsibility for their happiness can lead to the development of a sense of excessive responsibility and codependency. Children who feel responsible for their parents' emotions may struggle to recognize their own needs and emotions as important. Understanding these aspects is crucial for individuals who grew up in a toxic family environment. Awareness of negative patterns and their effects can help in working to overcome them and in building healthy relationships in the future. Recognizing one trait does not immediately mean that you are dealing with toxic parents. However, if you notice 5 or more of these behaviors, it is worth taking a closer look at the situation. If you still feel fear towards your parents as an adult, and every phone call from them causes your heart to race, this is a signal that something needs to be done. We are not able to change our parents. Change must come from them. Any attempts to influence their behavior may be met with their criticism and outrage. They may believe that their actions are justified and consider their toxic jokes as harmless. If they punish you with silence, in their opinion, you deserve it. They are not able to see their own fault. As an adult, you are no longer dependent on your parents for care. Your duty is to take care of your own safety and mental health, even if it means sacrificing your relationship with your parents. Do not let them harm you. A truly loving parent will never expect their child to sacrifice their entire life for them. It is the parent who is responsible for the life they gave to their child. Take care of yourself for your own good. Thank you all very much for joining me in today's episode. I hope our discussion about toxic parents has provided you with a new perspective on this challenging subject. Remember, you are not alone in your experiences, and help is always available. Let's support each other in striving for healthy and respectful relationships. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, leave your comments, and share this podcast to reach those who might need support and understanding. See you in the next episode, where we will tackle more important topics. Take care of yourselves and your emotional health.